Goeiemorgen, good morning and welcome. Let me introduce you to one of the great wine estates in the Franschhoek Valley, Babylonstoren. An estate renowned not only for its wine, but also for its gardens, its food, and so much more. We had planned to stop here for 2 or maybe 3 hours, but will we be able to leave at all? As I mentioned in the previous video, please go watch if you have not already. We took the wine tram around Franschhoek. As recommended, we had chosen 3 wine estates to visit, with a 4th one as a backup if we had a little bit more time. First we took the tram, and clanking over the rails between the vineyards was amazing. Then we transferred to a bus that dropped us off right at the wine museum. Bravely, or foolhardily, we planned to take 2 hours to look around and then check in with each other to see if we would stay for another hour. We started our tour of the estate at the wine museum. It was packed with information, not only of winemaking at Babylonstoren, but also in Franschhoek, in the Cape, in South Africa, and the rest of the world. I love a museum and honestly could have spent my 2 hours right there in the museum. But we were still enthusiastic, or naive, so we zoomed through the museum in under an hour. Did you guys notice the display of antique corkscrews? Isn't that just amazing? I am sure I can talk my boyfriend into us making space for something like that on one of our walls. I love when I'm touring a space and I think, I want that. I can make that. I can see that in my house. There is no doubt that Babylonstoren runs at a huge budget. But it is little details like that that makes you feel at home and makes you want to come back again. I'm a bit of a history buff, and yet I found plenty of new trivia to add to what I like to think of as my entertaining snippets. Personally, I love the bottles and their measurements and name. I am super bummed that it came out all blurred on the video. While they had casks, they did not have a cask that is a butt. I think that is a missed opportunity. Close to the museum is the wine tasting center. I opted to do the express tasting, thinking that we were gonna be visiting a few more wineries and I would eventually have to drive us home. I should have opted for the red wine tasting instead. The wines presented were really nice, just lighter than I usually like. Babylonstoren is especially renowned for the gardens. The design for the gardens are inspired by the company gardens in Cape Town, but it's also inspired by the idea of the hanging gardens of Babylon. It is said that those gardens were created for Nebuchadnezzar's wife, who longed for the mountains and valleys of her youth. It is not at all difficult to believe that these gardens had almost mythical inspiration. The design for the gardens was started in 2007 by a garden architect who had worked with French Garden. In 2009, much work was done in improving the soil and the planting started. Babylonstoren was officially opened in November 2010. The garden was designed in at least 15 sections. More are being added. There are vegetables, orchards, indigenous plants, succulents, ponds. There is a healing garden with plants with medicinal values. There's a spice garden telling the story of the spice trade from the east, the very basis for Cape Town's existence. Along the edge of the garden flows a stream. I've been told that they're working on a waterfall. Roses twine over 41 rose towers. There are over 300 varieties of plants in the central garden, and all of them have either edible or medicinal value. Since I grew up in the Western Cape, I grew up with fruit trees. Everybody had fruit trees in their gardens. But I'm not very good. At least I can say, oh, that is a fig tree, or oh, that is an olive tree. I think one of the amazing things about gardens like these are that there are so many different fruit trees. You can spend your time comparing them, especially in late fall when they are filled with fruit. We spent way too much time wandering around the gardens, so we decided that since it was close to lunchtime, we might as well have lunch. What a lucky decision. There are several restaurants on the farm. The garden supplies most of the food for all of these. The most famous is Babel, and booking is essential. It has a top-class, constantly changing menu. Since we didn't book anything, we ate at the greenhouse restaurant. The actual greenhouse was custom built in France, especially for Babylonstoren. The food was exceptional. My boyfriend rated their burger as one of the top 5 burgers he has ever eaten. I was very happy with my boerewors roll, but slightly sad that I did not notice that they had scones. America do not know how to do scones, and I love traveling to South Africa or England to have scones the right way. At this point, we had a bit of a confab and decided we had utterly failed. So we might as well embrace the fail and spend yet another hour at the farm. After all, there's also a spa, a farm shop, a bakery, a coffee roastery. Babylonstoren even have water buffalo, and from their milk they make artisan gelato. Finally, I'm going to leave you with videos of eggs, not in a fridge. Yup, South Africa is one of those crazy places where they do not wash their eggs and therefore are able to store their eggs at room temperature. Thank you for watching my video.